Welcome everyone, this is Evelyn. I have a Metatron read for you and a twin flame read for you that's on the table. Go ahead and take a deep breath. Take another deep breath. And one more deep breath. Sending lots of love and blessings out to you guys. I hope you're all doing well. Thank you all for joining me today. I was just meditating a little bit to see if there was a message for you before I came on. And as soon as I went in, I was getting Thoth, and then immediately this face that looked like Thoth immediately went to the orangutan, which came up in the read again today. And then he took me to Toucan Sam, which I identify with because my brother had a Toucan Sam that he lost at some point when he was a little boy, and he was very upset about it. But again, the Toucan Sam is that bird lineage. So I was just tuning in with the dragon and the bird lines, and the bird lines were coming up with Thoth, of course, and I connect very much with Thoth, or I did in the beginning. It's been more Metatron related. There was someone who said that Thoth and Metatron energies have split during this bridge right now. So I'm still working on my perspective on that, but Thoth came in to show me the bird line and then relating it back to the Dan, the D-A-N, which is also the DNA energy. And again, I was just talking about Elena Danaan, which is Dan, A-A-N, and then Dan Winter, the physicist, which is another Dan, and then my brother Dan. But again, the DNA. So there's that connection to the bird and that Dan lineage. So that was coming up just now. I was also going over perpetually over and over again with Thoth when I was in this meditation about, well, people want to understand, where we come from. And I kept getting the same thing, was that you can't possibly find the start point because, right, where there's everything, there's nothing. And there's always that there had, a human mind to grasp where this all started from, because we could just be one minuscule little piece of dust on a huge, other system. All of these millions of systems within our solar system can just be like something minuscule amongst something else. So when I was asking about the singularity, he was saying, why do you want, like, he's looking like a wacky professor, which I always see Thoth that way, like standing in front of class, pacing back and forth, being very expressive with his arms, with that bird head type of energy. And for me, he's very funny. And saying, why do you want to know about the singularity? The simple, what point is that? This is all about expansion and growth and creativity. And then I said, I'm going over and over my mind trying to figure this out. And then I'm saying, what's the point? And he says, like, by golly, you've got it, exactly. And then he says, what's the point? It's the question, not the answer, that's important. So there was a big message in that. And then this morning I was watching Z a little bit, and she had brought up some things that were triggering information within me that needed to come up about our twin mission and all that kind of stuff. So, and she had said, build it and they will come, which has come up a lot in my reads in the past few months. And talking about the missions and what they meant. And of course, there's, all different systems that we're reconstructing here, right? The medical, the education, the police systems, the political systems, and most of all, the family systems, which is all about the twin flames, because we're the rod and staff unions, which is all about the family. And so what I was getting when I was listening to her, there's just some trigger words that were coming right up for me about the twin flames. And this was coming up regarding the 12-strand DNA and the stent type of shape. If you're not familiar with the stent, it looks like that toroidal field donut. But the stent also is like the shape of a cannoli, in a way, like that's a portion of the donut. But like the little Chinese torture tests we used to put our fingers in as a kid, it's that same type of energy, the stent energy, only in a metal type of thing, that they use to put in arteries and veins to keep them open. But the twin flames are coming up as stabilizing all the family systems, which is the basis of all the other systems, and building instead of calling it the Rainbow Bridge, just it happened to be that the Antahkarana came up right now, which if you're not familiar with it, it's the name for the bridge, and some more information will come up about that in a second. But that we're building this bridge as a twin flame community, like that stent with the 12D. It's like we have that 12D protection, and you can go on to Ascension Glossary about the 12D protection systems, because that's something I'd come across, years ago. But that's coming up again here, along with the 12-strand DNA, which I was getting like a stent as opposed to the ladder. It becomes like a stent. And the ability that the twins are that 12-strand DNA with the ability to tow and hold the line, to be the gate holders of this newly created portal, the bridge from one dimension to the other, until the percentage is high enough to exist on its own, like creating a new tunnel with a stent. So once like in the human body, if you needed a stent placed, in a situation where perhaps they could take the stent out again. It's not the best example since the stent does heal into the wall of the vessel, but they can put stents in and take them out for temporary treatments in certain areas in the body. So it's that same type of energy of putting something in to temporarily hold it until it heals, and then you can take the device out because now it's natural on its own. So once the body heals the opening enough, just like pierced ears, where you no longer need an earring in it for the hole to stay open, it's that same principle here, which is really funny because the night when I had a session, just before the 22nd, I lost an earring. I noticed when I was in my session that one of my earrings was lost, and I still haven't found it. So again, that's confirming the example of the pierced earring. So, and it's funny too, because the time of 6:22 to 23 and 4:30, which are coming up again today in my reads, was about the time I realized I lost the earring. It was probably about 6:22, 6:23, the night I lost my earring. And then I was guided to look at some different flags, a lot of Asian flags and the Russian flag. And it's important whenever you get guided to these things, not to ask why, but just because they prompt you to then ask other questions, or they prompt you to a certain vision. So even if you don't understand everything I say all the time, look at the pictures, listen to the words I'm saying, and even if you don't understand it, it will piece itself together for you later down the road. So none of it is a waste. And if it's too hard to understand, don't try to understand. Just like go with it, hear it, and allow it to go into your energy. So just some stuff about the flags came up, and the way the stars and stripes were coming up on the American flag with the 7 red stripes and the 6 whites, and then the 50 stars, which are staggered on the flag, and they come up as rows of 6, 5, 6, 5, 6, 5, which is the King of Pentacles, 65. And then, of course, the 30 and 20 of the stars, which is 50 altogether, but the 30 of the Union, the 20 of Judgment, and the 50 is the 10 of Cups, which is, the best card for emotional fulfillment in the deck. So there's just some general energies coming up from that. And then I went into the Antahkarana Rainbow Bridge because I hadn't been in to read that in a long time, so I wanted to read it again. So from the Ascension Glossary, it says cosmic convergence of universal minds, and I'm not reading it every word of what it said, but just paraphrasing, trying to get more to the point here. Cosmic convergence of universal minds, or in other words, our channel to all, not just our specific channel to higher self, a set of horizontal counter-rotating chambers that move clockwise to bring energy from the unified field of God's source and disperse it through vertical Hara lines, H-A-R-A lines, or universal Antahkarana, the bridge, that impact the vectors as well as the bodies. The counterclock chambers send energy back to source as a feedback loop to continue the exchange into the consciousness progression in time. So there's this constant expanding and contracting from the center point of the eye of God, made throughout these time chambers. And then I went into esotericphilosophy.net, where it said when spirit or life aspect and the matter aspect come together, a third, which is the consciousness aspect, is born, and thus awakening. That's my words. The Christ consciousness, or the evolution. So this, again, is what they were talking about regarding the Antahkarana bridge. The descent from the monad, or the singularity, to the soul personality reenacted in reverse order. So again, we learn a lot of things by like copying someone else who's done it already and then going backwards to learn it. The threefold man, just like the three-way light bulb and the three-way plug, the grounding plug that's been coming up this week for me in my reads, the threefold man, the physical, the astral, and the what did I write there? Well, you can go into the I'm not sure what that word is. But the threefold man, you can go into the website to check it out if you want. By process of at one ment, first with soul, then through spiritual triad, reflection of the monad, and then the monad itself, the threefold monadic being. Return journey through creation is the gradual evolvement and the building of the Antahkarana bridge. So a threefold or three-way, according to my reads lately, solar system, where we are two of the three evolving to three consciousness. The intelligence to the soul, to the will of source, and the solar logos. So the bridge with these three expressions, and again, like I said, I was bringing up the three-way light bulb and the three-way grounding plug. It's like the human, studying the human body down to the smallest degree, and then working your way back to the galactic understanding of our bodies. This is what I'm saying at 1124, which is justice and alignment, and the 24 of the Queen of Wands, but it's also Omega. So weaving threads through the double-eyed needle. The source energy to us to source exchange, creating a new bridge, the grounding prong in that three-way outlet. We as twin flames are grounding the bridge, the third energy, keeping it open until it's able to stay open on its own. So again, this is feeding back into what I was just getting on my own before I told you about this website. So they go into some of the Sutratma and the Antahkarana, the center of the head. So again, going into the head, bridging the first the mind and soul, the second is the soul, and then reflection between the masculine and feminine. And then the third thread is built by the masculine and feminine through the soul energy interaction, and eventually the monadic energy through physical apparatus. Or in other words, creating things to bridge us, right? Once we learn how to bridge, creating something through creation that makes it easier for us to do this. The thread of creativity. The three threads wound eventually produce the bridge between three levels of existence. The masters of this science have returned to teach exoteric science. Okay, so all of the ETs and masters who have come back right now as the starseeds, who are here to teach everybody this and get us to that place. So they were also talking about the children, 0 to 28 years of age, learning to build and return channel or pathway. So spending those times growing up, having that as part of their education. The lower mind man with the soul, and then the lower mind through the soul to the higher mind. The Atma, the Buddhi, the Manas, the reflection of the threefold monad, or in other words, the spark of God. So again, bringing up the monad is the ultimate atom, the indivisible, the group of one, the singularity. And singularity is defined as where all parallel lines meet. So it's like that one card in the Journey of Love where the masculine and the feminine are floating sideways. And I always say there's no need for them to come together, because eventually they will come together automatically in that field, even though there's space between them. The ellipsis of gravitational singularity, a point of region in space-time where gravitational forces cause matter to have an infinite density associated with the black holes, which are still not fully understood, right? So also where AI can learn to improve itself on its own without human help, that explosive intelligence. It also comes up singularity as celibacy and singleness. So I wanted to know, what is the relationship between monad and the number 6? And the number 6 I've been getting all this week, if you're listening to my videos, is all about the phi energy of the golden mean, the ratio of 1.618. And so the 6 is literally that curve. And when I put monad number 6 in, it, you know how the words always change when you put it in. And so it accidentally took me to Obadiah 6. How the things of Asau and Edom are searched out, and how his hidden things are sought out. And I'm losing my voice a little bit, so of course this is being quoted from the Bible. So old partners will drive you to the edge, drinkers will stab you in the back, your friends or old friends will lie to your face, your world will collapse when I wipe out all sages from Edom and rid Asau mountain of its famous wise men. Your great heroes will desert you, Teman, T-E-M-A-N, and T-E is moral man. So because of evidence against your brother Jacob, you will be looked down upon. You stood there and watched and didn't do anything about it when other people were struggling and that kind of stuff. So it's saying for the man who had all this stuff and put themselves above other people, and this had to do with, and again, someone being brought down in status, losing your place in history, one who laughed or did nothing when others were down, or taken advantage of people when their lives had fallen apart, shutting out refugees and turning out those who had lost everything. And Obadiah means Lord's servant or worshiper of Yahweh. Destruction of Edom had to do with a long-standing enemy of Israel. Okay, so that energy was coming up about it's that status type energy of people who have placed themselves above others, and the fall of that energy, right? So then I still wasn't getting the answer I wanted regarding the monad relationship to the number 6. And when I came back to this right before the video, they gave me another like direct connect that hadn't come through before, and all of a sudden it did. It's very cool how this works out sometimes. So pride before a fall is definitely coming up with that. And the monad relationship to the number 6. So what is that relationship? And we know that 6, is that curve. Oh, I lost my little fluff on my microphone. It should be fine. Okay. So we have so if my voice sounds weird or different because there's no buffer over it, it should be fine. But so again, the golden mean, that circular coiling shape that's infinite. It keeps going on and on and on. It's the same pattern in the perfect proportion so that it goes on to infinity. It's the same shape that's in the flower, in the cyclone, in the cone, all of those things. That is the golden mean. That is the phi. That is the 1.618. It's all the same thing. That the power is here. It's like the chakra as well, if you do Reiki. And the never-ending story in that, right? Because it goes to infinitum. It's infinite. And infinite was coming up as the of boredom, right? Because it's not of om, but like boredom or hesitation. So boredom was coming up, and then I was seeing bore, like boring, as we bore into the earth, and we talk about the stations underneath the earth, especially the one with the huge boring machines down underneath the Alps between Switzerland and France, I believe. But then I was being guided to break down DOM, D-O-M, even more, because I separated in a D the O and the L, because D is an O put together with an L. And so if you put down instead of DOM, D-O-M, and make it O-L-O-M, I forgot to look it up, and I had done all my notes. I was about to do the video, and I saw the word. I'm like, oh, I wonder what that means. And when I looked up O-L-O-M, what do you think it means? The only definition was the number 6. How cool is that? So the or as opposed to om, O-M, which is just the O opened and closed, right? The cup where it's closed as a circle, which is the U of the cup and collecting or holding, consuming, and then closed as a circle, which is vacuuming or vacuum sealed, coming together and then falling apart. If and only if you accept both can you balance in the middle perpetually, which is then the monad, that center point. And then the metaphor was coming up, as well as the box and the label in reference to this. So then they took me into the metaphor, and we just went over Metatron in the past couple days, and meta was coming up again, but this time with 4, P-H-O-R, but which is also the number 4. So meta is the M, so I went into meta in a different way since we've already defined it. M is M, like the Emana of the Pleiadian feminine god, and then ETA is estimated time of arrival, the number 4. And we've also broken down the number 4 into the L of the right angle and the 1, which is the connection between 2 points, and the monad, which is that singularity, the 1 point. So 1 is not the monad is the point. It's not a 1 until you have 2 points or 2 connections. And then again, the number 6, which is the infinite coil. So I broke down 4 into, well, there is a word, P-H-O-R, with an E on the end, which means to bear or to carry. It's like the weight of the world on your shoulders. And then foe, P-H-O, of course, has many different meanings. But it has to do with, one of the definitions was dismissive contempt, and the shield, which is, being defensive. It's also the street and the house, the apartment, and to compose music and lyrics and write, to write a poem. And optics, it's the light spectrum, quam fo. And then also in electromagnetics, it's the iron filling representation of a magnetic field. So again, metaphors coming up in all these different ways you wouldn't normally think of. So again, remember that Metatron was coming up as the turning point and the landing point, right? Just like in the cyclone, right? The landing point is the point of the triangle, and then the turning point is the cyclone actually going around in a circle. So Metatron, and then metaphor also had something about the land, and what it said was, but it was about clearing the land. So where Metatron is the turning point and the landing point, metaphor is the turning point and the clearing of the land. So there can be a landing point. So that was very interesting. So turning point and the carrier, the fisherman's angle of his rod, being defensive or putting your boundaries up, and dismissive contempt, or in other words, not open to something. The turning point of the story or poem, the lyric, the comparison of this to that which can be seen as an obstacle, and to bear or carry that weight, to feel held back, and expressing that feeling, the limits of light spectrum and the electromagnetic field, and how we can see beyond that, to have a vision, or an estimate, in other words, or a dream of what could be, without feeling weighed down by it because we don't know it's real yet. A goal without limits, staying open to change, that as you create and expand, new timelines always open up to expand further and further with a new opportunity, right? So where you start out with, just for example, 2 opportunities, as you go on to one of those paths, all of a sudden new opportunities show up. So it's always expanding and expanding, just like leaves or flowers. And so the new opportunity here, and then the number 4. And the M of the she god and estimated time of arrival. And then remember the at symbol is very much that same kind of coiling energy of the phi energy, the golden mean. So she god, estimated time of arrival at the 4, which is the L of the right angle, and the 1, which is the arc between the 2 points. The right angle connection to singularity. The golden mean, or the phi energy of the 1.618, which remember yesterday, it's 1618. What's missing is 17, because it's 16 and then 18. There's no 17 there. And even if you write that formula as 0.618, it's still missing the part of the 7 that should be there, right? Because it's saying 617 when it should be 678. So that top line which is that leap of faith, is missing from the top of the 7. The jump, the leap, without knowing what's out there. Okay, so then we were getting the 6, 7, 8, and we had just talked about the 4, so I'm like, okay, so what's the meaning of 5? And there was a big question mark next to the 5, which Thoth had just told me that. So I went down the line for the numbers. So here is your definition. Somebody might want to put that down here too. It's 25, 25 for the definition of the numbers in the way they brought it forward to me today, which was very significant. So number 1, of course, 0 is the singularity. It's just a dot, right? So the number 1 is the 2 dots with the connection between. It's the arc, the connection to all that is. The number 2 is that question, right? It looks like a question mark, and then the line at the bottom is that leap. To question what more is out there. To reach out and touch another. And then the number 3 was coming up as that 45-degree angle and the connection to the angles and the curves, the bending and the shifting in order to figure it out. The comparison there of more than 1 or 2 points of view. That's the 3. And then to the 4, we talk about that L of the 90 degrees of just the right angle to reach to 2 who already agree and are connected. Okay, so we may be more sure of ourselves because now we're reaching out to 2 who already have figured out what they believe in. And then we get to number 5, which was coming from number 3, is just more curves and shifts, the openness with a larger group from opposing views. So it's very similar to the 3, but from the other side of the scope with more people involved. So it's just more views to look at, or more angles. And then we get to number 6, which is that golden ratio, the phi of the ellipsis with the line through it, the 1.618, and what's missing, which is the 17, which is the star, which is like, where did it all begin? Where did it all start? Between the 16 of the tower and the 18 of the moon and the 0.618, where the 7 is missing, the line at the top of reaching out to the middle is missing. Reaching out to the center, being centripetal, going towards the middle is missing here. So we go from the 618 to the 678. Lay them straight. Connection longitudinally, but without lateral access, the jump or leap that doesn't allow for bridging, the Antahkarana bridge, the brand new connection. So again, it's taking that leap outside something we've ever known before. And there's different levels of this, right? Because 1, 2, 3 is the 3D, 4, 5, 6 is the 4D, and 7, 8, 9 is the 5D. So we haven't reached out galactically until this time. So even on the 4D bridge, we're not quite there yet. When we get to the 5D bridge is when we can then reach out to galactics, because that is the landing point or the jumping pad, so to speak, from the 5D to go to 6 and above. Okay? So the 6 is the infinite coiling, spiraling, never nearing the end. And then getting to the 7, which is a perpendicular connection of 80 to 90 degrees, pointing northeast, or no with 2 dots above it in Russian, but reaching out above that, which already is, to something more. So whereas the other numbers before that were reaching out to what's already exists, to learn more from other people, the 7 is taking us to other dimensions out of our universe to learn more, because we can't find the information anywhere else on this planet. So again, the 7 is the perpendicular connection of 80 to 90 degrees, or about that right angle, pointing northeast like an arrow, reaching out not to another or even 2 others who already are connected and agree, but reaching out, and that has to do with, getting certified too, right? We're beyond that, right? So here we're reaching out above that which already is to something more, to trust your own connection that's out of this universe. Increasing the center of gravity and centripetal force, which is going within. And then we get to, taking that cosmic leap to unknown on this planet. And then the number 8 goes to connecting to another in that never-ending coil to understand a new world. So here we're learning new words, but when we expand outside our own universe, we're learning to understand a whole new world. Opening up the human, or the zero, which is source, or human embodying source energy, the zero human consciousness to balance, which then draws the line down the middle, makes the human balanced, it's also pi, to find that 0 point, the sweet spot, the exit that lets you return and not just die or transition for good. We're learning how to not just go to another dimension, but return as well. The two-eyed needle, the twin flame quantum energy shift, the dance between the masculine and feminine without taking sides, and then mesh with another just like you, and continue the dance of crazy eights, two taking that giant leap, like on the moon, at the same time toward each other, locking in where the X marks the spot, which then becomes that 8, with the 2 whispering benches on either end, the X in the middle, which is also the toroidal field, the torus, and the 2 whispering benches is the energy field that the torus creates, which then makes the number 8. X marks the spot with a whispering bench on either end for time out on both sides, climbing up the steps, perhaps at the Louvre, and taking a break on the long benches there without actually being benched. The 8 equals that toroidal field without limitation, right? Not like the apple. The apple's limited because the core at the bottom is gravitized, down to earth, so there's a limitation there. The toroidal field without limitation of gravitational pull at the bottom. And then we get to the 8. So here's the 8 with the whispering benches on top and bottom. And then putting it on its side here, they overlap a little bit here for the flower of life. And these lines outside the circles, they represent that expanding even further. So if one line angles 45 degrees into equal and opposite at 45 degrees, right? So two different I'm trying to remember what my lining was thinking when I wrote that. So if one is 45 degrees and equal to the other, like the twins, right? They create that right angle, which is 90 degrees, right? Two 45 degrees angle, like the X coming together, right? So if a line straight up goes into the X position, it's going 45 degrees. If it went 90 degrees, it would be flat on the ground. And it's like that big, huge circle, like the example of the golden mean, because it's only 1/4 of a circle when you start out that drawing. So it's about the quarter fields, but the smaller fields within the quarter fields, which becomes the 8th field, which is actually smaller, but it's a higher vibration. And that's where we're getting into that, to higher consciousnesses with this higher vibration here. So again, when you have two right angles, two lines that come together at a 45-degree angle make the X. Then they move the center of gravity from each individual, as then the 8 doesn't just become one individual, but it becomes both twins with the center of gravity in the middle of them, so between the two bodies. So it shifts the center of gravity not to self, but to selves. The 7 and the 8 are coming up as the bridge from the 6 to the 9, because 6 and 9 are the same thing. It's just the 6 is the human condition of that never-ending coil, and the 9 is the God end of that, the etheric end. The 9 is the source spiral connecting the multiverses. The first man gets along, and then Earth learns to get along with other planets. So 6 is us learning to get along with each other. And then we can work on getting to the 9, taking that leap to compassion, where we learn to get along with other planets and other beings and other systems, but that are always connected to source, right? They're more connected in that way. So the 6 and the 9 are both circular with a tail to tell, a curved tail to tell. When a dog's tail is straight, you better watch out. But when it's curved or bending, they're happy to see you, right? That which bends doesn't break easily. Light as a feather, 6 and 9 are whispering benches, but they're only occupied at one end, reflecting each other to create balance in the world again, each with their own and willing to share. And then we get this shape here of the 6 and the 9 together are literally make the 8, but with a space to get out. This is literally the pod. This is literally the two-eyed black hole, okay? So that looks like a leaf as well, or a flower petal. And it looks like two twins being born as well, okay? So each with their own and willing to share. As the 6 and the 9 come together, they're two peas in a pod, always with a way out and back in. It's the two-eyed needle. The 6 and the 9 that create the 8, because when you put them together, it's also the 8 of the toroidal field. So where's Waldo, you ask? As we're talking about the 6 and the 8 and the 9, so where's 7? Well, number 7 is the key that awaits, the code to get in, right, to open and close the gate. Because the pod is the gate or the portal, but you need the 7 is the code to open that portal. So the 7 is that key that awaits, the code to get in, moving north with an eastern degree. So again, degree or of gree came up yesterday, and then also the devil, which is of vil. But here it was coming up as moving north with an eastern degree, right, going northeast to a degree. And then the devil is devil, is the wicked witch of the west, or the witch, which is W, 2 U's, with an itch of the 2 U's in the EST, which I was getting the East Coast, Eastern Standard Time. But then when I was finishing up my read, Estonia came up, so that could be coming up as well. There is no fixed spot. That energy is always moving to the next degree or perspective or angle. And then my Nat showed up, who's unforgettable. 6 plus 9 equals 8. So don't forget that. 6 plus 9 equals 8. Or the lock with number 7 is the key or wrench, depending on your perspective. And then it was 1:41 on the clock, which is the 1 of the magician, the 41 of the Ace of Cups of self-love, and I'm losing my voice again, where 141 is then 2 1s with the 4 in between, which is like 2 aligned, but there's a block of the time that's blocking the 1 from the 41 when you write down the time. So 141 equaling 2 aligned, but with the L of the 4 and the 1 between, 1 in the middle, who's more right for the other one on the right, 1 angling to close southwest door or the south node to switch directions to northeast and get back on track with their true alignment. And this was all at 1:44. And then alignment is the ally of the GN, which is not yet defined, and the ment, which is the mind and the spirit, policing in a rescue effort to exempt with your intention. Or in other words, allowing the ability to opt in or opt out whenever you please, right? So there's no contracts here. You're free. And that's the whole point of that perfect relationship, is trust and sovereignty, right? Because then if you're perfect for each other, you never hold each other down and you never push people away, which really makes you want to be with each other all the time because you have complete freedom with each other. And it's really what the twin flame connection is all about. The 150 is the magician, and the 50 of the 10 of cups of emotional fulfillment. And then I was getting the picture of all my stuff here. Again, my QE2 example was coming. I'm going to give you a shot of this. All right, so these are very important here. So from my, where did I write it? I don't think I did it down there. So I'd shown you a symbol of QE2 before, because Q, it's hard to tell with this picture, but this is 2 times QE2. So here's the Q with the tail right here going through, right? Here's the number 2, and here's the E on both sides. So now you have a 2 on both sides, you have an E on both sides, and the Q, we just have the tail over this way for now. But you also notice it's the singularity. This is the symbol for the sun. It's the circle with the dot in the middle. And we also have a clock here. And you notice it's divided into 8 parts, all right? And these little lines are jump-off points. That's the quantum leap outside yourself, right? If it was pi and the old ways, we would just have the line inside the circle. But we no longer have those lines where all lines lead to source, because we understand that now. Now we're leaping out further. So this is just showing you all of the symbols that are in this symbol. The sun here that I show you with my safety pin example is where the feminine reaches out to the sun and collects the energy, which is that centripetal force going into the cone, which then collects in the two zeros of the masculine and feminine down here, transferring energy to the masculine over here, and then the pin closes and creates a vacuum for the two. When the energy starts to fade and the pin falls open again, it goes back to filling up, just like at a gas station. So that pin, that V right there, is the same thing as here, where the centripetal force goes into here to create a vacuum. And also you notice this time is either 4:30 or 6:22 to 23, which is that 45-degree angle. Okay, so and then here's again that pod, where it's not static, it's in and out, but it's also moving. You see how these are moving. So there is movement here. It's not just the static in and out energy or up and down. So that is the pod of number 8, which comes from the 69. And the missing number 7 is the key to open that lock. The torus, but with direction, not just up and down, of explosion and implosion. It's also the black-eyed pea, the twin flame QE2, with the 7-2 key. To get in or out, there's not just one way in death, but we're figuring out how to stay in this dimension and yet visit other dimensions at the same time. So it's also a representation of a clock. In my pin example, the 7 and the right angle by quarters, like the golden mean. And then again, just a reminder of the toroidal field, which is this looks like the donut, right, with the middle here. That looks like the top of the apple, or the toroidal field, the donut, whereas the apple is like this, with the two cheeks. It's the same thing here, the apple from the side with the stem at the top and the closed off core at the bottom, because there's gravity on Earth, which is why that happens. So 4:30 was coming up as significant, and 6:22 to 23, and realize that each minute on the clock is equal to 6 degrees of separation of time, because we have time and space. And then the name of my business was coming up, because that was significant too. Twin flames 3344. Cryon always talks about us moving from 3D to 5D and increasing our DNA usage from 33% to 44% of our DNA, and eventually getting to that Pleiadian status of around 80 to 90% DNA. And of course, spontaneous remission of an illness is 100% DNA, but Cryon says that we only need to achieve that for a second, really, to achieve a spontaneous illness correction. So you don't have to sustain it, you just have to reach it for a moment. So that's encouraging too, right? That's having to do with how we actually can heal ourselves, but you have to believe it. So then at 2:22, I finished all this when I dated 2/22/2022, because that's when all of this kind of stuff started piecing itself together. And I was writing my 3-3-4-4 down in the way they come together. So in this way, the 3-3 and the 4-4 break down into back-to-back and forward-to-forward as these two, which is the Pisces symbol, and that's like the two-eyed pea, but like in a petal. And then we have the 4-4s come up as, I was getting Mr. Potato Head, and then the guy with the little head and Beetlejuice. I don't know if you remember that, but that was coming up as the 4-4 back and forth, which is very interesting, right? So the one with a really big head, or the ego, and then the one with a really little head, with the lack of ego, in the two-eyed pod and the Pisces leap of Mr. Potato Head, and then the little head man. I don't know what he was called, if anything, on Beetlejuice, but that's where he was coming from. And then 3-3-4-4 also equals 6 and 8, which is 68 of the Page of Pentacles, but that adds up to 14, which is the Temperance card, or the angel. And so when you do the numerology of twin flames, it is the 15 soul number and the 26 outer personality number, which becomes 41. So twin flames overall, destiny equals 41, 3-3-4-4 equals 14, which is that all for one and one for all, and then together equal 55, which is the truth. So there's very significant energy around those numbers. And of course, Excalibur is associated with that as well. So I hope some of that was clear for you. I thought it was pretty good the way it came through. So, and it was so windy today. It really felt like the Wizard of Oz here. So I got into my Metatron read here, which is here for you. So this is the underlying energy. This is the bottom of the deck. Started here, I go down like this, and then into these three, and then these are the final cards, and if they guide me to pull a few extras, I put them down here as like an addendum to the story. Okay, so the Metatron read was done at 2:25 today, which is the 2 of the Divine Feminine, 25 of the Knight of Wands. And the bottom of the deck was Passion, which is the Knight of Wands. And the first card out was Transformation, which is 31 of that 5 of Wands, which is also Chaos, which is what life is, right? And we're talking about they're getting into DNA again, and cell splitting, which is all about organizing chaos, which life is chaos. When you're born, it's chaos. It's a big mess. So the colors that came up in this read were yellow and blue, and that was it. And yellow and gold come up as the blue rays, right? Gold and blue rays. And, oh, I'm sorry, silver and orange came up, and red and orange came up as well. So again, the red and orange from the root chakra and the sacral chakra, and the silver is that connection, you know, between the crown and the gold. So it is really that purification energy as we go to the gold. And again, for me, the silver coin comes up as the feminine after she, you know, the children all get a gold coin according to what I was getting when they're born. The feminine is more of that pink energy of compassion. The masculine is more of the green energy of the physical heart. And then as the mothers have their children, they give their gold energy away to their child until they're ready to learn to love themselves again, or to teach themselves to love themselves again, because you basically have to give yourself over to your child when they're little, because they need such, you know, such care. So here that silver's coming up again. And also the silver in June is coming up big time here. We just talked about the 14 and the 15 again of June, which was significant, which is I can't remember if it's the new moon or the full moon in June, but it is. It's right on the 14th and the 28th of June are the new and full moons. And the orange of the orangutan came up again, which is the orange man, or the forest man, the vegetarian man. And so I started doing this one at 2:39, and today's the 25th, the Knight of Wands, and the day adds up to 33, which is the Christ consciousness, the 6 of Wands, standing up for oneself, leading the way. And 2:39 is the High Priestess, or the Divine Feminine, and the Knight of Cups. Freedom of speech, and the Hierophant, the message in a bottle, and the shells, which is that golden mean again. And change. Remember, because the golden mean is showing you that it's not about circles. We're never just going around in circles with no change. That's like impossible. There's always change. It's more of a coil that's always going up. You may be making very little progress or lots of progress, but there's always some kind of change. The wounded warrior releasing their kundalini to go back to source, because it's a two-way thing, reciprocity, back to where you once belong was coming up here. And the Knight of Wands releases in a passion for life to initiate that kundalini rising, or in other words, start a fire, a spark, perhaps lighting a fire under their butt. The Knight of Wands to the wounded warrior, to the Hierophant, which can represent God, and the triggered divine masculine to let it go at 2:44, which is the High Priestess and the 44 of that 4 of Cups, sitting under a tree, grounding, integrating, and mastering of love, and especially receiving it, which can be boredom and apathy as well. But there's a reason for boredom. That's the whole point, is to ground and integrate anything you've expanded into. So take in the sunlight and the rays to illuminate the shadow pack, the organization of chaos here, taking that extra energy, and the bee pollinating the magic yellow flowers of joy and happiness, or in other words, the Mary Magdalens, and that's you as the feminine twin flames. The mother-father-child bridge, or the twin template, and showering in white diamond light for clarity on your shadow. The aqua rose gold heart of love is the mother unified field, and was coming up as Cancer rising. The purple moon, right? So the Hermit, so in the cards, usually the Empress comes up as as the Earth Mother. But here is coming up, the purple moon's coming up as Cancer rising, which I was just talking about June, so that's significant. And the purple moon. So the Hermit and the purple moon is the 0 point, right? It's where light meets dark, it becomes purple. The Hermit taking action with Big Bird at your side. So here's where Thoth is coming up in this picture, literally in this card. She's running on the beach, and there's a shadow of a big bird running next to her. So not only is Big Bird the way the birds see the Divine Feminine, but now you're seeing Thoth or Bigger Bird running at your side while you run on the beach. The Ankh then came up as Anki as well. The shape of the Ankh was coming up with Thoth, because remember Thoth is TH and TH with an O in the middle, which is human embodiment of Source, and TH is to the nth degree. So it's human embodiment of Source to the nth degree in every direction. The 0 point to the nth degree. Where the buck stops here on the Ankh, right, because it's like a cross, it's a dead end with the teardrop on top, right, which is the bud of the rose, right before it's blossomed. So the buck stops here because we're at a dead end, but it's because it's where everything comes up to that point really quick, and then it slows down like that car that you just revved up, and then you put it down on the counter to roll, and then it goes slower. You build up all this energy, it's creating momentum, and then you put it down where the bud starts to grow, which requires more energy, so of course it's slower as the flower starts to blossom. And that was the energy they were showing me regarding the Ankh. And then I went to write the bud, and I wrote the Bund instead, which was really funny because, of course, first thing I think of is Al Bundy, which always makes me laugh. But it also means the bottom, as I was just talking about the bottom of the apple being closed off because of gravity, and also means alliance, or ally just came up, and it also means secondary enclosure, so there's no leaks. So the bud is before it blossoms. It's how you leap into the 8 dance from the 3D Southern Cross, right? The burden of the cross and the 44 of the lap dance. We go into the burden of the lower dimension here. So to 0 point, so we're going from the 3D to the 5D to the 0 point where life actually begins. Because now you're Source direct at 255, which is the High Priestess of Divine Feminine and the truth of Excalibur, the silver sword. The double container or double bagged to prevent leakage, or source into getting out. So it's like source information getting out before it's ready to be out there, right? Prematurely. Or the inability to understand before it's ready. The time for it to grow, just like savings, you need to let it sit and marinate for a while, which also creates interest or dividends. Allow it to mature until it's ready to go out to the world, and then take a walk or a job. And I went to write jog, and it wrote job. So take a walk, or perhaps a job, or a jog. The lover's hermit for a high love with patience. Set boundaries daily of patience and balance, which again is that 14 of patience and balance, and the 3344 and the chills that I was getting. A key on path of arcs and rockets with trails to follow, sparking epiphanies about our sun portal, or in other words, the way home. And then the Einstein-Rosen bridge was coming up, as we're talking about the Antahkarana bridge. And this is a really little picture of it, but this is the Einstein-Rosen bridge. It's like the U shape with a portal going through these two sides of the etheric grid, or the plane of existence example there. But it was coming up from the card, literally walking down the path, going under these arcs and bridges. And you see there's a key on the path. And that's what this literal shape was exactly the same as this. And the key is the stent shape there, or the portal, literally where you would leap. So just take the visual in, even if you don't understand what I'm saying. But this is the Einstein-Rosen bridge, if you want to look it up, and the wormhole that you are building as twin flames with the keys and the codes. where time and space bend, doing the time warp. Madonna, or which also means my wife, or it means husband and wife, holds space and gifts when you're blue, the blue rays and yellow rays and green rays, oh my. As she holds space at present, at 311, the Empress and the Justice of Alignment, as he reviews records wisely, expanding his wings and horizons was coming up as whore eyes on, or Mary Magdalene, making a joke about that. The dance of leadership with flame to answer the call, with ring and 3 keys, or codes to unlock the ring, or answer the call. Up 8 steps with your +1, which becomes 9, the clarion call home, which is the mother's dinner bell. To the children to come out wherever you are, the key to who you are in that clarion call. As it was really funny because it was so windy and I had a window open and I have, tax stuff out there, and there was just one pile that kept blowing all over the place. So I had to close the window. But it was just my one nephew. It was really funny. So I don't know what it is about them. I'll have to find out. But there's something about children and their innocence. And the clarion call here, the mother's dinner bell, for children to come out wherever you are, the key to who you are, in a clarion or clear connection. At 318, the Empress and the 18 of the purple moon. And then we're getting, again, the moon and the Empress, which are both those mother energies. And then I was getting anti-M. So here we have the mother and the aunt. And I was just talking about my nephew. That's so funny. As the wind was really gusting outside, searching everywhere, but only mother knows, in the womb of there's no place like home. The mother's intuition, the key to their journey on the tree of life. Travel on, orangutan, to the gold. The forest or veggie man, Tarzan, who makes his call, right, and beating its chest, right, to balance your energies. That's another way of balancing your energies, by beating your chest, which Tarzan was breaking down to Tar and Zan, which comes out as this at 330, which is 3 of the Empress and 30 of the Union, the home. Tarzan equals to cut off due to suspicion, or to break down, or it means to be sticky, bald, musical ass that makes whispering or whipping sounds and is hard to get off or get rid of, to come, to survive, to fly over and across Tara. Jack be nimble, Jack be quick, down alone, emotional and fair, yet biting due to suspicion, presumption, and supposition, and likes the word, but Eureka, the sword from the stone, the word from the tone, and Om, A-U-M, space, or union, the silver warrior of light, put in his thumb and pulled out a plum. Boy, that Jack gets around. He avoided a candlestick, and Horner found peace in that corner, or angle, studying pi, keeping to himself, an ocean of emotion with a Thanksgiving feast. Thankful for synchronicities and heaven in their eyes, and taming the beast. In union with abundant universe, the King of Cups, detach from drama and look up in the plasma bubble cocoon. The shaman with peace pipes and TPs, or toilet paper, and the purple moon to reflect upon the number 2. The truth of the divine feminine and his connection with the cosmos. The 12 pentagon faces reflecting in judgment. The dodeca, IV, vine, or honor, or double-decker crystalline with 12 planes of existence. And again, referencing your 12 strands of DNA. And then rock the boat was coming up. Rock the boat, don't tip the boat over, rock the boat. Okay? So ever since our voyage of love began, your touch has thrilled me like the rush of the wind, as it was crazy windy out there today. And your arms have held me safe from a rolling sea. There's always been a quiet place to harbor you and me. Our love is like a ship on the ocean. We've been sailing with a cargo full of love and devotion. So I'd like to know where you got the notion to rock the boat. Up till now, now moment, we sailed through every storm, and I've always had your tender lips to keep me warm. Oh, I need to have the strength that flows from you. Don't let me drift away, my dear, when love can see me through. So then we go to the Queen of Wands to get up and stretch and lunge and stretch up as calling in all ancestors of the future in an energetic exchange to bridge to the Queen of Cups through her light body and her womb and go with the flow 1 to 1, which is also the letter H and the number 8, the double decker on the whispering bench of our love where X marks the spot. With the 2 whispering benches becomes again the 8. At 3:59, which is the Empress and the 11th hour, the 5 of Swords of the war within, right? That anticipation at the 11th hour. And by the way, that song is The Hughes Corporation by Wally Holmes. So reflecting whispers with the X between, finding way through Miss Mary Mac and nursery rhymes to cross energy lines and double Dutch jump rope. And as I wrote rope, it went jope, J-O-P-E, and jope is a word which means jacket in Estonian. So jacket and rope to cope. It's all in the jump and the timing and knowing when to jump right in, just like double Dutch, with arcs shifting in both directions at 4:04, the 40 of the Page of Cups and the 4 of the Emperor, his emperor and his innocent little boy. The underlying energy of the lighting a fire under their butt, causing the Kundalini to shoot straight up at the beach, finding a bottle and a shell with a message just for you, where land meets sea, meets sky, meets I am, where the I and the A of the TP and the Rocket Man, or the Shaman and the Rocket Man, of mountains and rivers, Tarzan, George of the Jungle, and Mr. Ed, all natural, curious, and the talking head. This is the masculine. So the first column is about the divine feminine who collects and gathers sunshine to aqua gold, risen heart, to have and to hold until the clarion call to pay it forward to all their future relatives. Then the carpenter bee pollinating Mary Magdalene, buttercup yellow, with a jacket of joy, and the hermit moving their body and reviewing records, preparing for rebirth and graduation and baptism with Mary Magdalene, Queen of Cups. The third column here was the diamond light showering on you. Meet the sun rays over the arch, or the Arc de Triomphe, on the way to Notre Dame, the Louvre, and the Cathars Castle, when flying or journeying to the salt river, where the salt meets the fresh water, and a Mary Magdalene baptism, where the King of Cups dips his head for Milady at 4:15. So tax day must be a cutoff point right here because it keeps coming up. So 4:15, it's 7:02 on the clock. That's a confirmation. So for the tax day seems like that things have to be taken care of right now, right? Because everyone's thinking about their taxes and getting them taken care of through that point. So it's like a break point where things will start happening, and then we go into June shortly after that as well. So that's what's coming up. So let's roll the die and get into the read for you guys. For the twin flames, we have Mercury, which is Virgo and Gemini. It's all about communication. We have Capricorn here, which is also Saturn and responsibilities. And the builder, right? The goat that never gives up. And we have the number 3 here as well, which is the Empress, which is Taurus, but it's also the month of March, which we're coming up on shortly. And that is Pisces going into Aries. So Pisces, Aries, Capricorn, and Taurus came up as well as Virgo and Gemini. So a lot of different energies coming up there today with the read today. Responsible coming together for lots of communication. All right, so let's go back to this read. And this was done last night. At 7:30, I cut the SIRIAN Starseed deck. And here is the main read from the SIRIAN Starseed deck. And then the whole read here with 7 decks. And if you want to mark it, it's turning 1:05 on the clock if you want to mark that for the main read. And I certainly appreciate anyone who is willing to do that. All right, so we have the SIRIAN Starseed deck was cut at 7:30, which is the Chariot and the Union. Chariot's the vehicle of ascension and infiltration. And of course, the Union, the 30 is also the symbol of Om. It looks like a 30 with an arc and a diamond on top. And then we have the 738 of the Chariot and the Queen of Cups. And of Orbs came up, which means of thoughts and words, but also blind men and orphans. And then I finished clarifying at 7:54, which is the 54 of the Page of Swords, which is the message. And again, we have Mercury coming up, so that's very mercurial, and that's very Gemini. So, and also remember, June is Gemini in the twins, going into Cancer, which is that Cancer energy of the purple moon. I'm getting now, blue moon, I saw you, or you saw me standing alone. I'm trying to remember the tune, but that's coming up also. The major arcana here that came up were Karma, which is the Judgment card, Shadow, which is the Devil, the Tower, and Reason, which is the Emperor. And before the read, Solar Deity, or the Sun, and Luna, which is the Moon, came up together. And then after the read, Abundance and Indigo, Abundance being the Empress. So we have both the Emperor and the Empress close together there. And we also have the Sun and the Moon, very significant there. So there were 2 Swords, 3 Cups, 2 Pentacles, the Knight of Swords, the Page of Cups, and the King of Cups. And that could be a father and child and delivery, or some kind of deliverance as well. And there's definitely a lot of communication here. But it's the 232 of the 23 of the King of Wands, the 32 of the Journey. And then we have double 4s, 5s, and 10s today, which is the 44 of the Grounding, Integrating, and Mastering, of Receiving of Love, which is also the 4 of Cups, 55 of the Excalibur, which came up already today as well, and the Truth, the 1010 of that very high vibration to get to that next level, to keep it high, and 45 of the 5 of Cups, which is the purging process of grief and loss and regret, guilt and shame and letting it go, and the 510, which is 0 backing up the 51 of the King of Swords. We also have 1 of the Magician, 13 of the Death card, 34 of the 8 of Wands, 56 of the 2 of Swords, 68 of the Page of Pentacles, and then 810, which is again 0 backing up the 81 of the end of karma around the world. And 8 plus 1 came up in the prior read as well. The code line here is all about adventure, time out, and healing. And the numbers that came up were just the number 4, which is the Emperor, but also building and that lower vibration of just surviving right now. So don't worry about like manifesting big and dreams, but just, do what you have to do to take care of yourself right now, especially during tax season. So that could be a message about that. So the code line regarding the number 4 and the Emperor, so it's very much about the Emperor and his inner child here, because we have the Emperor and the Page of Cups. And also JC was coming up. And that's funny too, because the no of the way Northeast was written in Russian, because the E was coming up as the 0 with the 2 dots on top. Adventure, time out, and healing. So the messages came up like this. It's all about purity was coming up here, naivete, the hoof, the row, the line, the 4T, so somebody could be dealing with a toddler who's in 4T, but also the age 40 was coming up as well. That could be 4D as well, I'm just getting now. But the purity of that naivete of the Page of Cups and the Emperor with JC and the second coming to show the law of 0 point, the pinfall of the fall of being feeling pinned on the ground or pinned to the ceiling, but it's also coming up as the pinwheel, and touch the large end of the stick and the shower to forge, landfall, journey, turn, time out, to a high degree, nobly, the nanogram, and I. Also the exotic was coming up. This was coming up from Voices, shortpedia.com. And this was so cool because it fed into the other stuff I was getting about the pod. And the way I saw this, I told you yesterday when I did my meditation, when I went into the astral field, I saw an explosion, right? So it looks like a toroidal field. And then the two wings of the toroidal field came together like two petals, closing like a rose in reverse, going from its bloom into its petal, into its rosebud again. And that same type of energy was coming up here. So exotic was coming up here as in the bridge, and this had to do with the Einstein-Rosen wormhole. And we are stabilizing basically a wormhole, a connection. The primordial wormholes, 10 to 33 centimeters. As the cosmos grows, some may have stretched, or they're usually very small, which is why they don't usually survive, is the way they were explaining it when I read the Einstein-Rosen wormhole. But because the collapse is so fast, they are worthless for travel. So that was part of what I was reading about the Einstein-Rosen wormhole. So exotic was coming up here. In the bridge, stuff may remain open and unchanged for long periods. With increased matter here, or exotic matter, that's not dark matter or antimatter, as it has a high negative pressure and high negative energy density. As part of the quantum field theory, such matter has only been observed in the behavior of special vacuum states if the wormhole contained enough exotic stuff, and I described the stuff coming out of that toroidal field as projectile vomit, but then the petals came in and pulled in all that vomit, like the reverse pressure, right? So the explosion and the implosion coming back in to create that vacuum field. So here it's saying if the wormhole contained enough of that exotic stuff, which I was getting as vomit, which is so funny, whether natural or man-made, it might be utilized to transmit information or passengers through space. However, that travel may be difficult. They may link not just two different areas of the universe, but potentially two entire worlds. Some believe that moving one of the wormhole's mouths, or again, giving it direction like I've been talking about the past couple weeks, moving the wormhole's mouths in a certain way may allow for time travel. And this was interesting too, because when I was watching the King's Affection, the series there, when they pull the arrows back, at the last minute they twist it. And I was getting that twist has something to do with the same thing that they're talking about of changing the mouth. When you twist the arrow, when they pull it back before they shoot, they may link not just two different areas. Here, wait. Some believe that moving one of the wormhole's mouths in a certain way may allow for time travel. And that's what I was getting, this twist, like the, what was that? What did I say earlier? I used the word earlier. The warp, the time warp. It's like performing a time warp when you do that twist. Space teaches matter how to move. Matter tells space how to curve. And again, this is all coming up from that site regarding the Einstein-Rosen wormhole. Einstein says gravity is an embodiment of space-time curvature. The most elementary charged particles are discovered to be one with zero mass. And then the Schwarzschild solution they brought up is like a shortcut between stars, dilation states. The quicker you move through space, the slower you move through time, because time is actively measured by light and light years. So the way they explained it was like if you had a portal and one end was really fast out there in space, and you were going light years at that point, and then you went in the wormhole, and then you come to Earth where it's really slow. Well, it took Earth a long time to get to the same place you were in light years, so you're going to have experienced a big time difference there. So, again, the naivete here coming up of the gullible, safe for time out to toggle up. The Page of Cups innocent, child, and the Emperor with JC in the Second Coming, to show the law of 0 point and the 0 pin out of time, I am to a higher degree. And then the pinwheel was coming up like the shutter of the camera and the eye. The torsion the torsion of the stent, just like I said, that twisting of the arrow before they shoot. The Leaning Tower of Pisa was coming up here as well. And the hoof. You know how the hoof is curved? Oh, that's bringing up the cuff. So I kept getting this shape of the kite, which on its side looks like a cup that has a higher back than a front, which is two halves of the pentagon, actually. And that's what that is. The hoof is that same shape. So the hoof, or for the T, which is that perpendicular energy, the toggle link, where they twist the arrow before they release, or in order to change the mouth, to change the direction of the portal. And again, that T of the toggle is the bottom of the Ankh, which came up earlier with the bud of the rose on top. Two right angles, which is that perpendicular, is two right angles, the hook and the key with the twist to open it. The child emperor, and again, that's so funny because in that show I'm watching is about a child emperor. Of reason, JC adventures, time out to heal. So it's like getting a break from being the emperor to heal. Like someone growing up in that place of being the emperor, they don't often get a chance to go out and just be a child and have fun and play, right? Because they always have this responsibility hanging over their head. But it's that kind of energy where the masculine as the emperor gets out to be his inner child again. And then at 1014, which is the 10 of destiny and the wheel of fortune and that high vibration, the 14 of that higher love and patience, then the yellow flower comes up here, but without the L, which is that right angle, and safflower was also coming up here as the innocent child emperor, and his logic, his reasoning regarding the second coming of Christ tour and the time out to heal with nitroglycerin. Also, Nigeria was coming up, natural gas, nasogastric, National Geographic, bloopers, and defected products. And that was at 1019, which is the Wheel of Fortune and the Sun. So exposure of destiny. So by having time out to become his inner child, he finds his own inner reasons for the second coming of the twin flames as the embodiment of that second coming in order to, help lead the way in ascension, in order to raise the Earth's vibration and be able to come and go with other worlds. So at 1022, which is the Wheel and the Fool's Journey, we start out with the Knight of Swords, which is the underlying energy, the top card on here, and then the mini cards on top of that. But below that card is the Sun on the bottom up, the Six of Cups reversed, the Ace of Cups reversed, the Four of Wands reversed, and then the Moon reversed, and then the Knight of Swords on top. The Sun, Leo, children or pets, with fun and vacation, falling out in the past, overwhelmed with instability, a move or a visit, or homecoming, a second coming, before the dawn. Deception of Leo upright and Cancer reversed, which is the mother and child energy, right? Leo is very much the childlike energy, and the Cancer is the mother energy that's been coming up today. The Knight of Swords upright as the messenger of truth, or the Knight in shining armor, the catapult, causing blushing with 5D message. The King of Cups upright, defensive about work, or a poor decision and needing to swallow their pride, or having calls to make. The Knight of Wands rushing into the rescue, perhaps buried under pink covers. The Queen of Pentacles reversed, pushed to their emotional limit, unable to step on path, with pressure on points or acupressure to trigger an emotional release, perhaps needing to get a foot massage or putting your foot in a little machine. A sister or suffering in silence, trying to end the nightmare. The warrior with a lot on their mind, recovering from missing someone, exile, injury or illness. And the Chariot in a move, travel, or just daydreaming to see what they can spare to bring two together and come in from out in the cold. This could be the one, and beneath that, new love. No longer inspecting every inch of the hostage of a narcissistic hierophant or marriage or tainted leader or divorce, with third-party big love through work, with issues in need of peace. No more making love outside or out back or in the kitchen or at work by the logs, only in the chair after a drunk night in, or multiple lovers, work, gardener, and home, or sneaking it in whenever they can at 11:05, which is Justice and the Hierophant. With Leo upright and Cancer reversed, Aquarius reversed, Sag upright, Cancer upright, Capricorn or Pisces reversed, and Taurus reversed here. We have health or healthcare here with the number 71, which has to do with the work, and underneath that is parenting, which is the 63 of suffering in silence, or the sister. So maybe there's a sister who has issues with marriage or parenting right now, and then health issues with work. After a sudden event, perhaps with third party in need of peace, and releasing of synchronicities or multiple options, with the Knight of Wands upright and the Queen of Cups reverse, and the Queen of Wands upright, perhaps overspending, or the Ten of Pentacles reversed, family, business, or community with dysfunction or loss, perhaps dumping a load, a burden, or responsibility. And I was getting Moroccan hot peaches and pinks, and money being thrown away or wasted. Or the Knight of Wands and the Queen of Wands are dumping everything on the Queen of Cups reversed, or the Knight of Wands and Queen of Wands spent it all to blame it on the Queen of Cups reversed. The confession of the Knight of Swords, pushed to their limit, to save the helpless, karmic ties, those left out in the cold, saved, reaping rewards of healthcare issues and issues at work. So this is paralleling to that same energy that I quoted from the Bible, regarding, the man who ignored those out in the cold because they were above that or didn't have time for that kind of thing. It's relating back to that of pride before a fall. And again, having to do status and losing status, or a fall from grace. So 11:24 is Justice and the 24 of the Queen of Wands, and the underlying energy of the judgment call, the announcement, or the wake-up call to withholding, saving, or walking away and within, breaking patterns here. At 11:27, which is Justice and the Ace of Wands, which is new passion, and alignment with that, the Knight of Swords going back to defend the Empress reversed, with new information about the Queen of Cups reversed, now that the worst is over, perhaps with the devil or codependency, or third party or bad influences, of the Queen of Swords upright and the King of Swords reversed, presenting the truth but under the radar, or about a failure, or being needy for attention, or attention-seeking behavior, perhaps in need of tools. The Knight of Pentacles, humble, loyal servant with unhappy family, without the Page of Cups reversed, or in ending an emotional cycle of rejection, or of being entitled or titled child. So there's that Emperor child again. At 11:44 is the alignment of Justice and the 44 of grounding, integrating, and mastering of love, and at 7:22 on the clock, the 7 of the Chariot and the 22 of the Fool's Journey. The recent past being the shadow, the devil, or Capricorn upright, looking back at the Ten of Pentacles reversed, dysfunction or loss, in a divorce or breaking contract, or tainted leader's fall, with the Queen of Cups reversed, letting go to fix, repair, or make amends, with the Ten of Cups reversed, facing the enemy or guard, of Leo and Aquarius both reversed, prisoners or kids with anxieties, reaping rewards or daydreaming, of the Ten of Pentacles reversed, recovering, with Justice or Libra in court, with the Hermit reversed, losing their mind or going crazy but coming out, or Libra with Virgo in their chart, and Capricorn, or shadowy family past. The foundation here is the Four of Pentacles reversed, the Divine Masculine's heart in the Batcave opening up, dumping a load off, or burdens, or responsibilities, grounding and integrating a message of love, where the Empress is reversed and losing patience, with fallen angel tempted by the devil and powerless or dependent or codependent ball and chain, and the central energy being karma reversed, and the need to make decisions for an unhappy family or an emotional cycle that needs to be over, needing to heed the call, swallowing pride, I was just getting swollen pride, finding peace with healing and dreams, and still dissatisfied, as the Knight of Cups offers love to one who's not sleeping or refusing to sleep with them, or offering love to wake them up, and challenged by the Page of Cups reversed, rejection, and or vulnerability, or entitlement, or a crybaby, that could be a baby crying as well, the breakup, ex, or lack of affection, and coming clean about guilt and shame, and defenseless to action. The Queen of Pentacles reversed with Justice or Libra, and the King of Wands reversed in an energetic exchange with them. with Aquarius reversed, Pisces, Gemini reversed, and Libra upright here. There is passion here, but without affection. And I can't read the word. It's not servant, but that may be coming up for a reason. Servant passion without affection, right? Getting it like the king does at the castle from whoever he wants it from. That could just be serving as well. But it's like that Ace of Wands, new passion, but no Ace of Cups. Dumped, purging, overwhelmed, pushing them out of bed in a wake-up call to end the unhappiness and move, visit, or dissatisfied, with world upside down, unable to sleep, or awake and coming out, with falling out in the past and losing patience, weak in need of strength to take a break, have fun, or expose all, with the Ten of Cups reversed, with the Page of Wands reversed, frustrated, uninspired, or juggling, unstable, and now exposed, perhaps the home being home exposed. The Divine Feminine in 5D, or Pisces reversed or upside down world of the Knight of Pentacles reversed and the Knight of Swords reversed, who may be sick or drained or in need of a vacation, and perhaps to just take a load off at 12:02, which is the Hanging Man, and perhaps two people, or the Divine Feminine or High Priestess. The King of Swords reversed is receiving relief from the Knight of Wands with a request at the gate, on a quest or willing to fight to get in, getting over the loss or regret and healing the separation or heartbreak. Destined Six of Cups reversed in a falling out or sad children, with the Emperor upright going crazy with energetic exchange or the arrows of love, or just too much busyness, not sharing the passion in a deception of third party through work and dissatisfied with self. The Knight of Wands choosing a new path, to rush in and surprise or sweep them off their feet, to work on rift with kids and or fallen angel, awake meeting or needing courage to expose all and stay energized and radiate at the same time. And soon here is at 12:08, the Hanging Man and the dance or strength. The Five of Pentacles reversed, recovering from exile of the group, perhaps in the Mary Magdalene cave. The High Priestess reversed and the Magician reversed, with new information as the Queen of Swords speaks her truth about a breakup in X, lack of affection, or Pisces reversed, Gemini and Virgo reversed, or just dead tired, or dark night fallen, with the Queen of Wands upright looking the other way at the Fool who's now free to leap and play, looking back at the Page of Pentacles reversed, perhaps a missed opportunity or one who never learns, while the Twin Flame King of Cups, the Twin Flame seeing themselves as the King of Cups upright or unconditional love, and this is coming up around 12:12, and the Page of Cups reversed and the King of Pentacles reversed, perhaps meeting the Knight of Swords upright to see the light of the Emperor and perhaps his new clothes. The Knight of Swords rushing back for delivery about ego or the idea or an awakening of the Emperor and his new clothes. The King of Cups upright rejecting the King of Pentacles reversed partnership to send a message or make it clear whose idea it was. Healing, family issues, finances and career, and past life relationship. And around the twins is the Tower reversed, in either avoiding disaster or after sudden events, epiphanies, or sexual exchange, and being uncomfortable in emotions or feelings, with the Page of Pentacles reversed in need of help, or perhaps they just never learn. Healing with the Knight of Pentacles, offering help after the Page of Pentacles reversed failed, or perhaps this is a tutor showing up, or help from a hard worker, or getting paid under the table. The block is the Emperor or reason, the control, the Fool free to leap away from the boss or abuse or frustration or no sex or love. And here then adventure came up at Advent, again the second coming of Christ, with time out, but even more so change. Cracking the vault, the person, getting them to talk or spill. No romantic tie from frog to prince, juggling in the past, saving two for later. Shocked, losing patience or temper, or awake to the weakness and all that's been exposed at 12:19, the Hanging Man and the Sun. Faceless juggler, stretching in the war within, working to align with holding, saving, and playing hardball. The Empress is reversed with the Ten of Pentacles reversed, family, business, or community, in energetic exchange or arrows of love, or lots of back and forth, perhaps insecure and without the tools, or manipulators in healing a breakup, and the wounded warrior surrendering at 12:21. The Knight of Swords upright, letting go to fix or make amends, with the King of Cups after a sudden event, a shadowed temptation needing to swallow their pride, and challenged by the Page of Cups reversed, rejection, and recovering from being pushed out. The Emperor upright, or reasoning, of the Ten of Cups reversed, with inner turmoil, with the Empress reversed and the Ten of Pentacles reversed, energetic exchange. So here again we have the Montagues and the Capulets, where they're both reversed, but the Emperor is upright and the Empress is reversed. And the Empress reversed without the tools to heal here at 12:27. The Knight of Swords with a 5D message to the shadow web to take a load off or confess. The Divine Masculine's heart in the Batcave opening up, holding back an announcement, and challenged by the Page of Cups reversed, rejection or vulnerability, and the Ten of Cups reversed, family, of lack of emotional fulfillment. The King of Cups upright as the twins, recovering from exile after sudden event, with Emperor upright stretching to grow at 12:29, the Hanging Man in the present moment, with the Empress reversed and Ten of Pentacles reversed, family, business, or community, and a lot of movement, communication, or travel, and perhaps insecure, in need of tools to heal at 12:33, which is the Hanging Man and the Christ consciousness, that second coming of Christ, and then done at 1:09, which is the beginning and the end, all in one, with space between them. So let's go ahead and pull a few oracle cards to see how that all comes together. So some really good information came through there today. So if you need to listen to it again, you might want to do that. So let's just pull an energy card to see what comes up there. What is our takeaway from this message today regarding communication, responsibility, and coming together in abundance? And the singularity of the sun, the center point of our portal. Okay, we have the woman holding a heart with the 44. Again, that's that grounding and integrating and mastering of love. And she is holding her heart. She's holding space. We have patience. She's being patient, even though she's had her liberties taken away from her. And there's that clock, like in my example drawing today. Only there it's 10 after 10, and mine was more like these two down here, the 4 and the 6. So Lady Liberty, but she's not really happy without her liberties. And 16 is the Tower. And again, that could be like Rapunzel in the Tower energy, and yet holding space, grounding, integrating, and mastering. And again, the Tower of sudden events, epiphanies, and or sexual exchange. And then the Angel of Balance, which is that genie in the bottle type of energy of the hourglass, and the 48 of walking away and within. That's the 8 of Cups. Learning how to balance your time and your emotional energy, and have Thanksgiving every day. The cornucopia of the 11 of perfect alignment and justice for all. So, and this one wants to come out too. So door to value, make sure you know what you value before you open the doors. 31 is the chaos of life, to make sure you organize yourself, right? But you channel that energy into organization in order to move it forward. So make sure you know what you value. And then the bottom of the deck is the Goddess of the Moon. So again, the Mother of the Moon, the purple moon, the 52 of the Queen of Swords with the light. And she, behind her, is the Angel of Love, which is that Page of Cups, innocent love energy of getting their wish, staying in their heart. And this can be a baptism as well. Okay, so mother and child energy there. And again, June coming up. And again, holding space, the feminine holding space in their heart, grounding and integrating and mastering their liberties, right? Their freedom of speech, being patient with time and space and sudden events, and learning how to balance everything, including all the practicalities of day-to-day life, of food and abundance and cornucopia and justice and the chaos of everyday life. So you need to like kind of scale down, make sure you know what you value so it's not so chaotic. Okay, so let's pull from not that one. I'm going to pull an animal card today. I haven't pulled from the animal deck in a long time. I'm going to give you one. So here's the animal deck. The cat. So I'm getting like Persia's coming up because of the Persian cat. I was getting purr. I can't roll my tongue, purr. Okay. All right, let's see what comes up from the animal deck today. All right, there's a bunch of cards that came up. The bottom of the deck is the King of Summer, which is the penguins. Waddle, waddle, waddle. Warm-hearted, devoted, loving, and faithful. A trustworthy person or relationship enters your life. You may receive wise and compassionate advice from someone who speaks directly from the heart. I've got the gecko right below that. I'm not going to go into that because a bunch of cards came up for you guys. So we have the penguin in the underlying energy, and it looks like a father with 4 little penguins. And then we have coming out for you is the Queen of Spring first, talented, brilliant, independent, and charming. And there's that cat, the Persian type cat, right? Isn't that Persian? Look how cute the little kittens are. And the Queen of Spring says, Persian cat, yeah, Persian right there. Don't underestimate your ability to manifest your dreams. You may have several priorities vying for your attention at once, but you can do it. Again, scale it, making sure you get organized so you can handle what you have in front of you. The wheel of the 10 of that high vibration and destiny is the reindeer or the caribou. Expect a sudden positive change in your life. You can now move forward and make your great progress. And there's that wagon wheel. I'm getting the water wheel too with that. The 4 of autumn with the squirrel collecting nuts or hoarding their nuts. The squirrel, be cautious about living a life of extremes or seeing things in black and white terms. Consider, for example, whether you are spending too much versus hoarding your wealth, or giving too much emotionally versus building walls that keep people out. And then we have, again, it's all about balancing stuff. And the 3 of winter of the rose, that's funny, the Einstein Rosen, the rose-breasted grosbeak. Sadness is a part of life, but you don't have to endure it alone. You may need a little time to heal, but once you work your way through the emotions, you'll be stronger than before. And there's 2 people together working it out, so that's part of the energies here. And then we have release of the 13 of transition here, and the peacock spreading their feathers. It's time to release the past and move on to something new. This ending is the first step on the way to a happier future. That's a beautiful picture too. And the 6 of spring and the pup, the rescue dog or mixed breed, the mutt. You may receive a promotion, be chosen for a scholarship, or find that you're singled out for a special recognition. You've done an amazing job and you deserve all the attention. Okay, so the Persian cat and the rescue dog, they're very different, aren't they, right? The Persian cat is very royal, and at the other side we have the mutt, the rescue dog. So it's those 2 ends coming together with 2 caribou, right? In the orange groves, right? Apples or oranges? I guess they're pears, actually. So expect sudden changes. Don't underestimate your abilities to take care of your priorities. Okay, so sudden change comes in with the wheel of fortune. And there's 2 caribou there, 2 reindeer, and pears, partridge in a pear tree. And then we have the squirrel. Be careful you're not hoarding or giving too much. And, take the time, be patient, and work out any sadness between people here. You don't have to do it alone. You can do it together. and then spread your feathers. Strut your stuff. It's time to release the past and move on to something new. It's the first step on the way to happiness, right? Between the Persian cat and the rescue dog. That's really cute. Okay, so it's really practical stuff. Like I said, it looks like tax day is a timeline for us to kind of get a lot of responsibilities taken care of so that we'll be free to play in May and June and July. And of course, July to August is always a big time of year for graduation for people who are making it through to the SIRIAN gate. So yeah, I hope that was helpful for you guys. I really liked that read today. Take a deep breath. Remember your water, because you don't feel good if you don't drink enough water. It makes you dehydrated and you won't connect well. Remember to get enough rest too, because you won't feel well. I mean, if you don't get sleep one night, it's not a big deal. Do what you can to feel good about yourself and put yourself in a comfortable situation, and just do your best the next night. But make sure you get some kind of joy and nature in your day, because all of these things help to make you balanced and help you be happy every day. And just love yourself first. Okay? By doing what you love to do, you're going to make yourself happy, and then you're going to expand all that stuff that you do out to everybody else around you. No worries. Be happy. Love you guys. Have an amazing day, and rise and be loved. I'll see you soon. Bye, guys.